Namo Namo Om Namo Om Namo 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 Om Namo 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 Achyutaya Namo Shri Anantaya Namo Achyutaya Namo Shri Anantaya Namo Sundaraya Namo Suravanditaya Namo Sundaraya Namo Suravanditaya Namo Madhavaya Namo Madhusudanaya Namo Madhavaya Namo Madhusudanaya Namo Karanaya Namo Narayanaya Namo Karanaya Namo Narayanaya Namo Om Namo Namo Om Namo Om Namo Namo Om Namo Om Namo Namo Om Namo Humble prostrations to one and all. Yesterday we had seen how chapter 15 of Bhagavad Gita introduces us to bondage. So what is the nature of bondage? The nature of bondage is experience of constant change. What is the problem with the change? So we say the change that we see in this world, it is unpredictable, it is uncertain. That which is unpredictable and uncertain cannot give us happiness. Another problem change is we have no control over this change. The body is becoming old, but we have no control. The body is dying, we have no control. Worries and anxieties, we have no control. So we have no control over the changes that happen. So therefore, what is the end result of all these changes? The end result is we feel insecure and we feel unhappy. So this feeling of insecurity, we are helplessly feeling. So wherever there is a state of helplessness, there is bondage. So this experience, is the audio very low? Hariom, is it clear? Is it clear? It is clear.
Yes, it's
Yes.
clear, Swamiji.
Fine, fine, fine. So those who find that the audio is low, I request them to increase the volume button in their device. Right. Or Put the earphone. I mean, yes, it will be clearer. Put the earphone. Right. If majority are listening clearly, then that means problem is not from my side. Right. So yesterday we were discussing bondage expresses itself as a state of helplessness, a state of lack of freedom, experience of limitation, etc. So yesterday we were seeing how we create our world around us. This is the topic of the second verse of the 15th chapter. अधश्चूर्ध्वं प्रसृतास्त्स्य शाखाः गुणप्रवृद्धा विषयप्रवालाः. So how do we create the world? Yesterday we had seen that in detail. We first interact with the sense objects. Sense objects means what? Vishaya means what? Vastu, Vyakti, Paristhiti. A thing, being, or situation. They are all Vishayas only. They are all sense objects. So when we interact with the sense objects, either they give us sukha or dukkha, joy or sorrow. Whatever gives us joy, we tend to get attracted towards that. There is raga, we get attached towards everything which gives us joy. And whichever gives us sorrow, dukkha, we tend to hate that, dislike that. So from sukha dukkha comes likes and dislikes, raga dvesha. And what is the result of raga dvesha? All our actions are directed by, guided by, instigated by, prompted by raga dveshas. This raga dvesha is what is called as the vasanas within. It expresses as vasanas. So when we interact with the sense object, this interaction is called karma. What is the result of karma? What is the byproduct of karma? So it is said, karma anubandhini mulani. So in this tree, the secondary roots are the vasanas. How are these vasanas formed? These vasanas are formed when we perform action. And what is action? Interaction with the sense objects is called action. So with this interaction, there is sukha dukkha. This sukha dukkha leads to raga dvesha. This raga dvesha leads again to karma. Again, we perform action based on this raga dvesha. We go nearer toward those things which give us happiness. We run away from those things which give us sorrow. So in the process, what happens? Karma, sukha dukkha, raga dvesha, again karma, sukha dukkha, raga dvesha, again karma, sukha dukkha, raga dvesha. What happens to raga dvesha? Raga dvesha becomes more and more intense. And slowly, what happens? We create a world based on our likes and dislikes. We create a world based on our vasanas. So therefore, we can say the world that we find ourselves in, this world which is around us, this world is our own creation. We have created it with our own likes and dislikes. We desired certain things, therefore they are in our world. So what is the cause of this world around me? My own desires are the cause of my world around me. Desires create the world. Right. Now a very important question to be asked is there something in desiring the world? Is there something wrong in desiring the world? This is a very, very common question asked by very many people. What is the problem desiring the world? Why we should not desire the world? Because all the spiritual classes we say this, don't desire the world. The thing is, there is a law in this world. What is the law? Whatever you desire, you will get. This is the law. If you desire God, you will get God. If you desire the world, you will get the world. The law of this universe is whatever you desire, you will get it. Why do you get it? You get it because you are not jivatma, actually you are parmatma. So the desire of jivatma is nothing but the desire of parmatma. And can desire of parmatma go unfulfilled? When we are desiring, who is desiring? It is a Paramatma who is desiring, isn't it? So when Paramatma desires something, Maya or Prakriti has to fulfill it. The cosmos has to fulfill the desire of Paramatma. So therefore, whatever you desire, you will get it. Whatever you sincerely desire, whatever you wholeheartedly desire, whatever you desire from the depth of your heart, it has to manifest in the outer cosmos. Because the desirer is not an ordinary one. Desirer is the Lord of this universe. Isn't it? It has to come to pass. Now the question is, what happens when we desire the world? Desiring the world means nothing but desiring the sense objects. So, when you desire a particular sense object, a particular experience, a particular situation, a particular person, whatever it may be, a particular job, whatever it may be, a particular profession, a particular world, whatever you desire, to fulfill your desire, what are the conditions necessary? Number one, there should be that thing in the world which you desire, the sense object. Sense object has to be there, number one. Number two, you must have the instruments to interact with the sense objects. This is a necessary condition. If you have to fulfill any desire of this world, number one, the desired object should be there. Number two, the instruments to interact with the desired object, that also has to be there. To indulge in that object, it has to be there. So OET has to be there, the desired object, and BMI has to be there, the instruments to interact or indulge with the sense object. Both are necessary. So when you are desiring something of the world, you have no choice. Sense object has to be provided. In order to indulge in the sense object, instrument has to be provided, the BMI has to be provided. Now, you cannot use the BMI unless you identify with the BMI. So, identification is a must. If you have to interact with the sense object, instruments are a must. In order to use the instruments, identification with the instruments, that identification is a must. Now, to identify with the instrument, there is another thing also which is a must. What is it? You have to disidentify from your real nature. To identify with the BMI, what is necessary? You will have to disidentify from your real nature, which is Paramatma. You will have to disidentify from Paramatma state, and then you will have to identify with jivatma state, the BMI state. It's a must. Right? Means if you have to fulfill a desire in the world, you have no choice but to give up your status as Paramatma and take up the status of Jivatma. You have no choice. You have to do this. Right? Means you have to forget that you are Paramatma. You have to imagine yourself that you are a Jivatma. You have to identify with the BMI. This is absolutely unavoidable. Now, is it a comedy or is it a tragedy? It is a tragedy. Because you have to give up that state of perfection and you have to take up the state of imperfection. Very many times we hear people asking this, what is the problem in desiring the world? It is all optional. Some people desire God, some people desire world. What is wrong? If a person is happy in the world, desiring the world, what is wrong? There is everything which is wrong. People who think, who have Viveka Shakti, everything is wrong. Desiring the world means becoming a jivatma. And what do you mean becoming a jivatma? You have to give up your Satchit Ananda Rupa. What is Paramatma? It is Sat Rupa. Sat means real. So you have to give up Sat and take up Asat. Jiva is unreal, illusion. Are you ready for it? Sat means existence, immortality. He has to become Asat, mortal. So you have to give up your immortal state and you have to take up the mortal state. Taking up the body means what? You are going to die someday or the other. Giving up the immortal state and taking up the mortal state. That is what it means. Desiring the world means this is what it is. You have to give your Chit Swarupa. Chit means omniscience. That is your nature. And then you have to take up Ajnana Rupa. Jiva is full of ignorance only. He is ignorant about himself. He is ignorant about the world, about God, everything. So, becoming a Jivatma means giving up knowledge and taking up ignorance. Becoming a Jivatma means giving up Ananda Swarupa and taking up Dukkha Swarupa. Are you willing to take up that? As a Jiva, your nature will be Dukkha alone. Why? Because as a Jiva, you are identified with a limited body, limited mind, limited intellect, limited ability, limited talent, limited lifespan. Any limitation is nothing but sorrow. Any limitation is sorrow. Body has its limitation. Tell me, who is happy taking up a limited body? A time-bound body. Can anyone be happy? Impossible. So therefore, the nature of ego is dukkha alone. So what do you mean desiring the world? Desiring the world means desiring to become a jivatma. Desiring to become a jivatma means readiness to give up the status of paramatma. Desiring to become a jivatma means taking up asat swarupa, ajnana swarupa and dukkha swarupa. You understand? So do we have a choice? When people say, what is wrong in desiring the world? What is wrong in being happy in the world? Some people are happy without spirituality also. Why are you forcing them into spirituality? Etc., etc., etc. Arey Baba, you have no choice. Whether to take up spirituality or not, you have no choice. If not in this birth, maybe after thousands of births, you will have to take it. Because life as an individual, it is a miserable life, whoever you are. You may be a person who has done a lot of punyas in the world. So what? You may be a Secretary General of United Nations. So what? Arey, forget about all these. You may be an Indra in the Swarga. So what? Misery is misery. It doesn't matter who you are. The moment you have taken a body, you will have to go through the miseries of the body, limitations of the body, limitations of being. Any limitation is suffocation. Because you are infinite. Paramatma means what? You are infinite. The moment you become a jivatma, you become finite. As Paramatma, you are immortal. The moment you become jivatma, you become immortal. As Paramatma, you are perfection absolute. The moment you become a jivatma, you become imperfection absolute. Paramatma is Ananta Swarupa. Ananda Swarupa. Bliss absolute. So by all means, we are a loser the moment we choose to become a jivatma. Right? So is it worth desiring the world? According to your desire, you will get a body. That's why it is said, Narupamasyeha tathopalabhyate. Its form is not very clear. There is no guarantee you will get a human form. You may get an animal form, insect form, bird form, anything. Because it all depends on desires. What kind of desire you have, accordingly a body is given. And that body will change as the desires also change. So that's why it is said, Narupam labhyate, because this rupam keeps on changing. The forms keep on changing. Depending upon your desires, changing desires. Na antaha, na adihi. You can go on having different kinds of worldly desires. There is no anta for it. The moment a particular desire is fulfilled, you feel, I think this is not what I want. Maybe that is what I want. That person appeared to be happy. Maybe he is happy. Let me have that desire. Now you can go on. Infinite number of desires can give infinite number of births. This is a warning given to all of us. Na antaha, na adihi, na sampratishta. There is no end. It can go on and on and on. Right? So once it is clear that desiring the world is nothing but desiring misery, desiring suffering, desiring limitation, desiring slavery. If this is very clear, then a mumukshu in you is born. A desirer of liberation in you is born. What is liberation? Desiring the state of freedom from jivatma-hood, jiva-hood. That is called as liberation. Desiring liberation means what? Liberation from the body, liberation from limited existence, liberation from suffering, liberation from all kinds of limitation. This is what is liberation. So this desire comes when we have a clear understanding of what life is. So what has to be done to get liberation? So here it is said, ashvattha-menam suvirudha moolam. This ashvattha, what is the nature of this ashvattha? Don't search some ashvattha tree somewhere outside. Every one of us, we are that ashvattha tree. Don't think of some tree hanging upside down somewhere in the outer world. You will never find such a tree. You are that tree. Tat tamasi. Okay. So this ashvattha, suvirudha moolam. Oh. Suvirudha moolam means what? Deeply rooted. What are those roots? Remember, Vasanas. So deep root means what? Deep Vasanas. Intense likes and dislikes. Suvirudham. How did this become Suvirudham? From the infinite past, we have been nourishing this tree. How do you nourish this tree? By nourishing desires. By nourishing likes and dislikes. By nourishing raga, dvesha, kama, krodha, ahankara, mamakara. This is the way you nourish the tree. And this has been happening from the infinite past. So therefore, how should be the roots be of this tree? Deep rooted. Deep rooted means what? The indication is you cannot uproot this tree. The point is this. Uprooting this tree is impossible. If it is some small sapling, you may do it. But this is a suvirudha moolam ashvatham. Very many people ask this question. Swamiji, when was my first birth? First action? First karma? You will never find it. So, in order to gain liberation, thank God you need not go back into your past, dig your past and find out what all things you have done. It is not necessary. Thank God. Right? Then what is to be done? Asanga shastrena drudhena chitva. Chop this tree off. With what? Shastra with what weapon? Asanga Shastra, the weapon of detachment, the weapon of non-attachment. Why weapon of non-attachment is used here? Weapon of non-attachment is used because it is through attachment we have come here into this miserable state. How did we create the world? Through Sangha. So how to escape from the world? Asanga is the way. The entry to a house itself is the exit from the house, isn't it? The entry door itself is the exit door. So how did we enter into this world? Through Sangha we entered into the world. So how to exit from the world? Asanga will be the way for exit. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. So Asanga Shastra means it is nothing but Vairagya Shastra, the weapon of dispassion, the weapon of detachment, the weapon of desirelessness. Now, we will have to spend some time in this Asanga Shastra. It's a very, very dangerous word. Especially in the hands of an immature person, it's a very dangerous weapon. Instead of chopping the ashvattha vriksha, he may chop his own head. Very dangerous. Let me tell you why it is dangerous. Very many people listening to some spiritual discourse here and there, suddenly they are possessed by this, vairagyam. Suddenly they feel, oh, the whole world is an illusion. God alone is real. My real enemies are my relatives because Sangha has happened with them. My wife, my children, they are my real obstacles in spiritual path. A immature person will feel all this. And then what will they do? I'm telling this all this because we keep complaints, The lady of the house, she comes running, Swamiji, what have you done to my husband? He has been such a loving husband. Always, worried about our welfare and well-being. After attending all these spiritual classes, now he is not at all concerned about us, concerned about the family thing. So we hear complaint, and this happens generally to the beginners of spirituality. So what happens? Suddenly he is not at all interested in the family matters. He feels that all these family members are a burden. They are obstacles because my attachment is towards all these family members. So therefore, if I have to progress in spiritual path, I will have to do Asanga Shastra and chop all of them out. Very dangerous, very dangerous. And such people have brought bad name to spirituality and all spiritual people also. That's why very many people are scared to come to ashrams, to study Bhagavad Gita, all because of this notorious thing called Asanga Shastra. Right? Now let me make it very clear. Asanga, detachment, is not something to be shown. It is something to be subjectively known. It is not something to be shown. It is something to be known within. A mature person who is spiritually evolved, this is what he will do. He will never show his vairagya externally. It should not be shown. For example, when your child is coming with a teddy bear, Papa, shall we play? On teddy bear, some toy or whatever. What will you do? You'll say, I am not interested. No, you'll play with the child. The child is very much attached to teddy bear. You will also act as though you also love that teddy bear, isn't it? Sometimes you will say also, I will not give this teddy bear. I love this very much. You do all that. You act as though you love that toy very much. Then you play with the child. So the child, what does the child think? Just like I am attached to my toy, my father is also attached to this toy. You see? The child enjoys that interaction. Both of you are playing, but deep down you very clearly know I have nothing to do with this useless toy. But externally you will not show, isn't it? Just to keep that child happy. The child is wanting that love, that respect, that recognition, that joy. Just to keep that child happy, you will act, isn't it? Deep down, you are totally detached, but that detachment within, you are never showing it outside. So then what happens? The child is also happy, and you are also happy, seeing the child happy, isn't it? This is how detachment should express in the outer world, not by breaking others' heart. There are very many truths which you need not express, you need not tell, because the other person is not in a position to understand that. So if a relationship breaks by telling a truth, better not tell the truth. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? So when you are with your family, love them because they are craving for love. Respect them because they are craving for respect. Recognize them for their achievements, whatever they expect from you, give them. In the name of spirituality, in the name of Asanga Shastra, in the name of Vairagya, you don't have to spoil your relationship. Vairagya is absolutely subjective. Keep it with yourself. It is not something to be shown. It is not something to be expressed. What you must express that which the other person needs. If the other person is expecting appreciation, appreciate that person wholeheartedly. So what the other person needs, you must give. You are needing Vairagya, the other person is not needing Vairagya, then why are you expressing Vairagya? So then what will happen? On one side, you are spiritually evolving without any obstacle. On the other side, others are also happy with you because you are fulfilling your responsibilities, duties towards your family members. So the family is also happy and you are also happy. This is the way in which we must progress in spirituality. Everybody should be happy. Otherwise, what happens? You are expressing your Vairagya outside. The relationships are spoiled. And then people say, it is because of spirituality that my husband is spoiled, wife is spoiled, It is not the problem with spirituality. It is a problem with wrong way of practicing spirituality. Problem is not with spirituality. I hope it is clear. Right? So the sign of true spiritual development is everybody is happy with you in the family. In fact, if you are a spiritual person, you must be a peaceful person, a happy person, a contented person, a joyful person. Your family members should love you because that's what spirituality promises. A true spiritual person has very good control over his mind. His mind is very pure. His thoughts are pure. His intentions are pure. Such a pure-hearted person will, in fact, such a person must become a source of joy for everyone. A truly spiritual person is able to cater to the needs of everyone because he is at the highest state. So depending upon the needs of the others, he is able to regulate himself, bring down according to the needs of others. He is able to do because he is at the highest state. Others cannot come up, but you can always go down. So if you say, I'm a spiritual person, but everybody around me, they are miserable, then there is some problem with your spirituality. Right? Right. So let us move forward now. So the Asanga Shastra is a very dangerous thing. That's all what I'm trying to say. So this Vairagya is something to be experienced inside. It is not something to express outside. Right. Now the next topic is how to cultivate Vairagya. How to cultivate this dispassion. So dispassion is a state of mind where it is not interested in that particular sense object. That state of disinterest towards sense object is called Vairagya. How to develop it? So you must know this law. If anything is contributing to happiness, then mind cannot detach from it. If anything is contributing to happiness, mind cannot detach from it because mind craves for happiness. Mind only knows two languages. One is the language of joy, the other is the language of sorrow. Happiness and misery. These are two languages which mind knows. If a particular sense object is giving joy, then you cannot stop mind from going there. It's a law. So then how to practice dispassion? Fortunately, the world has been created in such a way that every sense object ultimately gives only pain. It's a great blessing by the Lord. Ye hi samsparshaja bhogaha dukhayonaya evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. Bhagavan himself is saying this. Any contact with sense object, it is nothing but dukkha yoni. Yoni means what? Womb. What comes out of womb? Children come out of womb. Any samsparshaja bhoga, any sensual indulgence, finally it is nothing but the womb of sorrows. This is what the Lord says. So therefore, nateshu ramate buddha, the wise people don't revel in such pleasures. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, agre amrutopamam pariname vishamiva. This is the nature of all sense pleasures. Agre amrutam, it is like nectar. But in the end, pariname visham, it is like poison. Every sense object. Now, we have to educate our mind that every sense object, ultimately, it brings only pain. This education we have to give to the mind. Because if the mind sees pain, then the mind will not go there. But if it has to see pain, it has to be educated in the right way. If it is educated in the wrong way, then it will see only happiness, it will pounce upon it. Right? How to educate? This is a next question now. How to educate? How to educate the mind that a particular thing, a particular sense object is nothing but sorrow? How to educate? So the way to education is allowing the mind to go through the misery after indulgence. Let me give an example. Yesterday also I had spoken about it. Suppose there is a junk food. The moment you see the junk food, what will the mind say? Wow! Once in a while, it's okay to eat such a food. Once in a while, it's okay. And the mind is waiting to eat that junk food. So what is the mind seeing there? The mind is seeing the joy of eating. It is not seeing the pain after eating. See, pariname actually it is visham because it is a junk food. It will spoil your health, everything. But when that junk food comes in front, mind is seeing the joy of eating, not the pain after eating. Fine, that is okay. So what you have to do? Anyway, there is nothing to do. You have to indulge, eat the food. But after eating food, there is a time when you feel, I think I shouldn't have eaten. A time definitely comes. After indulgence, there is a feeling which comes. I think I shouldn't have eaten. I knew it. Last time also it had happened, but still I yielded to temptation. That feeling comes. There is a heaviness, right? There is some, what you call that, lethargy or heaviness or misery. Oily food, spicy food, all these things, when you eat, there's a burning sensation. What you have to do is allow the mind to suffer in that pain. This is called educating the mind. Whatever misery you are going through, after indulgence, allow the mind to get soaked in that misery. Soak the mind in that misery. The mind should really feel miserable. Ayo, what a mistake I have done. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have done that. Let the mind remain in that state of misery. This is called educating the mind. When the mind has thoroughly gone through that misery, next time when you see that mind, what will it see? It will not see the joy of eating, because that is only momentary pleasure. It will remember the pain after eating. If the mind is seeing pain in that object, the mind will not be attracted towards that object. If you are given a glass of milk full of what you call, Horlicks or Bonvita or Badam powder or saffron or whatever, very tasty, sugar, this, then somebody says, see, a little bit of poison also is put in this. What will you see then? Will you see the joy of drinking or the death after drinking? See, the moment the mind sees the pain, suffering, etc., the mind says, no, I don't want. Right. You see, suppose you have some, one bunch of green grass, and one cow is attracted towards you. The cow comes and you feed that cow, and then take a stick and give a solid beating. The cow runs away. Next day also you do the same thing, bunch of grass. Will the cow come near you? No. Why? It is not seeing the joy of eating, it is seeing the pain of beating. Yes or no? The cow will not come. It likes the grass, but it knows if I eat, I'll get beating. In the same way, the mind also. Mind sees a sense object. But what is it seeing? If it is seeing joy, it will go and indulge. But if it remembers the pain, in the past, I had indulged and I had suffered. I don't want that suffering, because that suffering is a long-term suffering. Joy is only momentary, but the suffering is long-term, having a permanent effect. So I don't want. This is called, what is called as vairagyam. When the mind sees the pain and therefore it shows no interest in indulgence, that disinterest born out of right understanding is what is called as vairagyam. So every vairagyam has to come because of viveka. Remember this. There are varieties of vairagya. We are not talking of momentary vairagya. We are talking of viveka janita vairagya. Vairagya which is born out of viveka. What is viveka? Agre amrutopamam pariname visham. This is viveka. Clear understanding of what is what. Viveka means the ability to discriminate, the ability to think deep. Right. Viveka janita vairagya it is. Vairagya born out of viveka. There are so many other kinds of vairagya, they say. There is a smashana vairagya. What is smashana vairagya? Some near and dear one dies and you are miserable, full of vairagya. But after a few days, again you are back to normal. There is no viveka there. Then there is a prasuti vairagya. Lady is, pregnant, and the pain of pregnancy. Then the lady says, no more child. This is the final one. But next year again, she is carrying. So we are not talking of such temporary vairagyas. We are talking of a vairagya born out of proper viveka, proper thinking. Right. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. It is always the knowledge which brings up vairagya. Right knowledge, right understanding about life. Right understanding about life, such a vairagya will stay with you permanently. Otherwise, next moment it is gone. Right. Now, a very important question comes. Fine, the mind is not going towards the world, but what should I do with the mind? On one side, you have stopped the mind from going towards the world. Fine. But what should you do with the mind? So comes the next verse. Verse number 4. Tataf padam tat parimargitavyam yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuyah तमेव चाद्यं पुरुषं प्रपद्ये यतः प्रवृत्तिः प्रसृता पुराणी. So what is the instruction given? Tatah, after that, tat padam parimargitavyam, you must inquire. Parimargitavyam, inquire into tat padam, that higher state. Means what? Direct your mind towards the higher state. What is that higher state? Now you're all study group members, so I don't have to explain. That higher state is none other than the consciousness in us. The nature of that consciousness is Satchit Anand. Turn the attention of the mind towards that. So withdraw the mind from the world. How will you withdraw? With the help of Vairagya, born out of Viveka. Withdraw the mind from the world. Now what will you do with the mind? Turn the attention of the mind to that consciousness. Remember, Tat Padam doesn't mean some state outside. No, it is in you. It is the very consciousness in you, the reality in you, the very support and substratum of the world, the consciousness, that awareness in you. Turn your attention there. Now this is a very, very, very important advice given by Bhagavan. Because otherwise what will happen? Otherwise what will happen is only suppression, not sublimation. What is the difference between suppression and sublimation? Mind is desiring something, you force the mind from going there. That is called as suppression. It will not work. Whereas here, we are talking of sublimation. In spirituality, we don't talk of suppression. We always talk of sublimation. What is sublimation? Mind always craves for happiness. Let us accept this. That's the nature of the mind. Wherever happiness is, the mind will go there. So now you have stopped the mind from indulging in the worldly happiness. Now the mind is craving for happiness. So what do you do? Turn the mind to the higher happiness. Many people fail to do this. They have stopped the mind from going into the world. Now the poor mind, it is not getting the worldly happiness also, and it is not getting the spiritual happiness also. Such a person, what will happen? After some suppression, again it will go back to the world. Mind will say, at least something is better than nothing. You see? So spiritual people, what should we do? On one side, withdrawing the mind from the world through Asanga Shastra. Other side, exposing the mind to the higher joys of life. The joy of meditation, the joy of selfless service, the joy of devotion, the joy of egolessness. They are all higher joy. The joy of giving. So when the mind experiences the higher joy, it is able to automatically drop the lower pleasures of life. This is the way the mind has to be trained. If the mind feels that by being spiritual, it is getting 1,000 units of happiness, in the world it is getting only 10 units of happiness, But in spirituality, in meditation, etc., I'm getting 1,000 units of happiness. Which one will the mind choose? The mind will choose a spiritual way. It compares. What is that which is going to give me happiness more? Just like a child. The child is playing with your iPhone, let us say. Your life is in that iPhone, but the child is playing. If you try to snatch it, he will break or he will cry. So what will you do? Show some nice balloon, attract the attention of the child. So even without the knowledge of the child drops the iPhone and then goes back, go towards that balloon, and slowly you take away your phone from behind, isn't it? This is the way the mind also has. Mind is also like a child only. It just does what it likes. The mind is like a child. So that is why a person who knows how to deal with his own mind, that person will beautifully handle his child. Because the way is the same. Techniques are the same. A person who has not spent time with his own mind, he will not be able to handle his child properly. He will pamper the child and spoil, or he will threaten the child and spoil. Anyway, the child is spoiled. There is a way to handle it. There are times when you have to pamper the child. There are times when you have to discipline the child. Both are necessary. It is the same way with mind also. Right? So what has to be done? On one side, slowly the mind has to be discouraged from the worldly pressures, the sense indulgences. Slowly the mind has to be discouraged. But at the same time, simultaneously, what has to be done? Mind has to be exposed to the higher joys of life. And once the mind knows this, that there is a higher way of living, there is a greater possibility of joy. Spirituality offers that greater joy. And once the mind experiences that higher joy, such a mind will not show any interest in worldly pleasures. This is a healthy way of coming out of all addictions, coming out of all, indulgences, coming out of all ragadveshas. This is the way. Tataf padam tat parimargitavyam. So now at the seat of meditation, what has to be done? We will analyze that also. So at the seat of meditation, how to practice these things? Whatever is said here, they are all important meditational techniques. So at the seat of meditation, assuming that you have prepared the mind through karma yoga, etc., assuming, then what will happen at the seat of meditation? When you sit with your eyes closed, then what happens is you will see two entities clearly. What are the two entities? Number one, the observing consciousness, the witnessing consciousness on one side. On the other side, the thoughts playing in the mind. Two things you clearly see. On one side, the observer consciousness. The other side, the observed thoughts. Generally, these thoughts are the worldly thoughts. So, worldly thoughts represent world. Consciousness represents God. So at the seat of meditation, you will clearly see these two things. On one side, God shining as pure consciousness. On the other side, world expressing as so many worldly thoughts. Now the choice is yours. Whom do you want? God expressing as consciousness, or the world expressing as thoughts? What do you want? So if you are a person who is full of worldly desires, what will happen to that person at the seat of meditation? He will go along with the thoughts. He will start entertaining more and more worldly thoughts. He will identify with those thoughts. And finally, after half an hour, I said, oh, I forgot that I was meditating. The mind will go on chattering. The mind will go on wandering. And after getting tired, after wandering, he will go to sleep also. That will be his end of meditation, which he might misunderstand as samadhi. It is not samadhi, it is a perfect sleep. Very many times the people come and ask, Swamiji, I don't know whether I had gone to samadhi or I was meditating or I went to sleep. If you have a doubt, surely it is sleep only. If you have a doubt whether you have meditated or not, because doubt means what? Ignorance. Lack of knowledge is doubt. So, when you are meditating upon Chit Swarupa Paramatma, and if you are in doubt, what does it mean? Paramatma is never there. How can you meditate on knowledge and become ignorant? Are you able to understand? So, it is always sleep. If you are doubting your meditation, I don't know what happened, Swamiji. I don't know whether I have slept or I have meditated. If this doubt is there, no, for sure, it is nothing but sleep alone. This doubt should never come for a person who has successfully meditated, because it is like a charging thing. You are charged. When you are connected to a higher source of knowledge, a higher source of power, how can you remain, absent-minded, absent of alertness? How can you carelessly connect to him? Is it possible? Never. You are charged. Suppose the mobile is connected to the charger. Earlier it was 50%. After charging, it became 25%. Is it ever possible? After charging, it should be above 50%, isn't it? So at the seat of meditation, you will see these two entities clearly if you have a prepared mind. One is consciousness, the other is worldly thoughts. So towards worldly thoughts, what should be your attitude? Asanga shastrena drudhena chitva. This should be your attitude. At the seat of meditation, when these worldly thoughts come, you should say, not now. For this 1 hour, I am not going to entertain any worldly thoughts. Later on, when I am in the world, fine. Worldly thoughts are necessary. Otherwise, how will you deal with the world? At the seat of meditation, I will not entertain these worldly thoughts. This should be the attitude. Asanga Shastra should be used. Not now. No worldly thoughts now. So then what happens? The law is, the moment you witness your thoughts, show disinterest towards your thoughts, the thoughts die. This is a law. If you are showing disinterest towards your thoughts, the thoughts have to die. It is something like a person. He comes to chat with you and you are not at all listening. Will he furthermore talk to you? No, he will also become silent. But suppose you start showing interest in whatever he's saying. Like that happened. Then what? Oh, then what? When you do all this, that person will add more and more masala, isn't it? Because you are encouraging that person to speak. The mind is also exactly like this. The more and more you show interest in the contents of the mind, the worldly mind, bringing worldly thoughts, the more and more you start showing interest, the mind will also bring more and more worldly thoughts. This is expressed as a wandering mind. Remember, mind cannot wander without your permission. Mind has no, it dare not, because you are Paramatma. Don't forget this. How dare the mind wanders without the permission of Paramatma? So the very fact that mind is wandering, it shows that somewhere deep down you are interested in all these kind of thoughts. You are encouraging the mind to wander. right? It is with our own permission alone, mind wanders. Permission means what? Showing interest in thoughts. So when the mind is wandering, understand you are interested in the world. Thus, your love is for the world, your devotion is for the world. Wandering mind is a symptom of worldliness. Right. So this is the definition of a samsari also, according to Bhagavad Gita. Who is a samsari? The one who is interested in samsara is the samsari. Samsari is not the person who is, having wives, children, etc. No, 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 no. They're all wrong interpretations. At the seat of meditation, you will know whether you are a samsari or a sannyasi. At the seat of meditation, if you're wandering along with the thoughts, if you are showing interest in the world, if you are showing interest in samsara, then you are a samsari. But suppose you are able to do this, what? You are able to witness the mind, not showing any interest in the thoughts, because you are interested only in God, and that God is consciousness, and you are just paying attention to consciousness. Then what will happen? The law is, the moment you witness your thoughts, the thoughts die. The moment you identify with the thoughts multiply. This is the law. Identify with the thoughts multiply. Witness the thoughts die. So this person, who is a qualified person, he is seated at the seat of meditation. He has studied all these Vedanta scriptures. He has very clearly understood that this consciousness is none other than God. So now he shifts its attention to this consciousness. But he is experiencing some worldly thoughts also. Especially because when you come from the world, when you sit at least for some 5-10 minutes, that hangover remains. You are coming from the world. So some impressions are there. They are gurgle up. So worldly thoughts are there. So the first few minutes you have to just watch your mind, not showing any interest in the contents of the mind. Then what happens? Slowly the mind settles down. It becomes quieter and quieter. As the mind becomes quieter and quieter, you clearly experience the presence of consciousness. Because remember, obstacle is only the mind. There is no other obstacle. As the mind becomes purer, as the mind becomes quieter and quieter, what remains then? Remember, quiet mind is a no mind. Quieter the mind, it is disappearing. Mind is nothing but flow of thoughts. As the thoughts decrease, what should happen to mind? Mind also slowly disappear. As the mind disappear, what happens? What is real shines forth. Reality shines forth. The illusions disappear. So what is that reality? The pure consciousness is the reality. So as the mind becomes more and more quiet, you start experiencing consciousness in its fuller measure, in its greater perfection. What is the nature of consciousness? Sat, Chit, Anand. So as the mind becomes silence, you start experiencing this Sat, Chit, Anand more intensely, more clearly. So what should happen to the Ananda content as the mind quiets down? Ananda should become more and more intense. So there is an intense experience of bliss, intense experience of contentment, of joy, because that is your nature. Illusory mind is gone, your own nature shines forth. Chit Swarupa, you very clearly know it, that this is your nature. You know it because it is your direct experience. Sat Swarupa, you clearly know that this is a reality. And this is ever existent. And this existence has nothing to do with the existence of the body. The body may die, but this will remain. You clearly know it. This is called as experiential knowledge. It is not a heard knowledge, Shravanam, no. It is not a convinced knowledge, logically one does know. It is an experiential knowledge. And this is what happens in Nididhyasana. So when we say this Atma is Satchidananda Swarupa, you know it because you have experienced it. Experienced knowledge is of a very high quality than a mere heard knowledge. Whenever we study scriptures, it is only a heard knowledge. Heard knowledge means what? It is somebody else's knowledge. Maybe from a trustworthy source, that's fine. From Shastra, Guru, etc. They're all trustworthy source, but it is only what you call a heard knowledge. Heard knowledge means what? It is not my knowledge, but since I trust the source, I accept that the knowledge is true. That alone will not do. Mere listening to the scriptures will not do. We have to experience it directly, and that's what happens at the seat of meditation. That's why Puja Gurudev used to say, only a person who meditates, he alone will become a Superman. Superman means what? Knowing your true nature, that is Superman. We are not talking of some Superman, Spider-Man. We are all Supermen and women, provided we know our true nature. And knowing should be experiential knowing, not intellectual knowing. Once you experience it, that knowledge will reflect in your intellect. That's very good. But experience is necessary. So how to experience it? At the seat of meditation. Asanga shastrena dridhena chitva. Cut off your, attention towards the thoughts. Then tataf padam tat parimargitavyam. Shift your attention to that pure consciousness within. That consciousness, abide, experiences its properties by yourself. Then what will happen? Yasmin gatana nivartanti bhuyaha. This is also a beautiful line. Once you know that your true nature is happiness, once the mind has experienced that nectar of happiness in your own self, that is called amritam. Amritam means what? It is not something to drink and fill your belly. No. Amritam is something to be experienced. The experience of immortality is the real, drinking amritam. So when that mind experiences that state of perfection in one's own self, in one's own consciousness, that mind will not desire anything of this world. Isn't it? Why should it want defect-full pleasures of the world when it is getting a defect-free joy of the self? So that is the meaning. Yasmin gata nanivartanti bhuya. That person will not come back again to this world, because the necessary condition to come back to this world is desires. Only when you have desires, you need to come back to this world. Now this mind which has tasted the higher joy, will it entertain any worldly desire? Never. A billionaire will not crave for 10 rupees, 20 rupees. So such a mind will be a desire-free mind. Such a desire-free mind need not be taking another birth. Because for birth, the necessary condition is a worldly desire. Without worldly desire, nobody comes to this world. So, yasmin gata nanivartanti bhuyaha, which is called as liberation. Now, the problem with us is, Swamiji, I have understood everything, but when I sit for meditation, I don't know when I go to sleep. I don't know when the mind wanders, where all it wanders, that also I don't know. Or sometimes, Swamiji, I feel very bored, nothing is happening. So these are all different obstacles of the mind. Next line, tameva chadyam purusham prapadye yatah pravrti prasrita purani. It is a very important instruction to prepare the mind just before meditation. Only when that mind is prepared in this way, that mind clearly sees the distinction between consciousness and thoughts. Otherwise, it's not. So how that preparation has to be done, that will be the topic tomorrow. Our time is up. Now, if you have any questions, you are most welcome.
Thank you, Swamiji, for an enlightening morning once again. It was wonderful. We look forward to hearing more from you tomorrow. If our study group members have any questions, kindly raise the hand icon in your chat box and unmute yourself and you can ask the question. Thank you.
Shall I go ahead?
Yes, please.
Pranam Swamiji, thank you for your time and knowledge today. I am, just inspired by a few words. I'll just have a query. I have two queries actually on your words. You used the word boring in the last, stanza. Now, my first question is, there's such a beautiful existence and world we all get to enjoy. And the state of the original state that you referred to, the consciousness or the parmatma state, right? So jivatma state, we are enjoying this world, this beautiful world. So the parmatma stage must be exact opposite of this stage, must be a very boring existence if it were that stage. So why would I choose a very boring stage compared to enjoying this world? So a boring stage, that's the word I'm trying to get clarity on. That's my first question.
Okay. See, at the seat of meditation, if you are feeling bored, it simply means that meditation is not going in the right direction. Because you are meditating on Ananda Swarupa Paramatma and you are bored. Is it ever possible? That God is bliss absolute, infinite bliss. Meditating upon infinite bliss, if you are bored, then it simply means that you are not meditating properly. Somewhere else you are meditating. Something else you are meditating. You are stuck up in your own mind. This is what it means. Right? So, this is an obstacle, which tomorrow we will deal with it. Anyway, that's the topic for tomorrow. What is the second question?
My second part of the question is when you mentioned about you start on the seat of meditation. So when I begin the meditation and I am trying to experience consciousness in the seat of meditation, and then after some time it ends. So my question is, how can I abide in pure consciousness?
How to abide in pure consciousness? See, suppose you want to run a marathon. Will you first day itself start running 40 kilometers? You will be finished first day itself. First you run 2 minutes. Maybe after 2 days you will run 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Isn't it? Slowly, the body acquires that ability to run long. This is called as abhyasa. Abhyasena tu kaunteya vairagyena cha grihyate, Bhagavan says. So for everything there is an abhyasa. For meditation also there is an abhyasa. You don't think that meditation is so easy, you just have to sit quietly. Very difficult it is, very difficult. To sit at the seat of meditation, enjoying meditation, not getting bored, still having the stamina to meditate, it is not easy. So when you do it regularly, slowly, you develop a stamina to meditate. So it all comes with practice. Regular practice is the way, whichever be the field, whether it is worldly field or spiritual field, you can remain there only with stamina. And stamina comes only with regular practice. Hari Om.
Pranam Swamiji. Swamiji, two things. One is I joined late. Is there any way I can get a recording, please?
Yes, it is available.
We will send you the recording.
Yes.
Sure. Thank you so much. And second is, Swamiji, I lost my mother about 11 months back to COVID, and we have our Guru. So we were told that she's merged into our Guru, Mata Amritanandmayi. So what does that mean, Swamiji?
Knowing yourself is merging with God. Because there is only pure consciousness. That consciousness is same in all of us. A Mahatma is a Mahatma because he knows this consciousness. You understand? Why is a Mahatma called a Mahatma? He is a Mahatma. He is not a jivatma. He is a Mahatma. Means what? He has known himself. Knowing yourself means knowing that you are consciousness. So if somebody has merged with Guru, remember there is no Guru separate from God. God and Guru both are one. Because God is consciousness, Guru is the one who knows himself to be consciousness. So merging with Guru means knowing oneself. I hope it is clear.
I'm trying to get there, Swamiji.
If your Vedanta fundamentals are clear, then this is very easy. Your Vedanta fundamentals have to be clear. Only then you can understand this point. The purpose of all spiritual practices is to know oneself as pure consciousness, as Satchidananda. That's all. Our suffering is because we think we are the body. The truth is we are not the body, we are pure consciousness. So knowing pure consciousness itself is the way to merge with the Guru, to merge with God.
But then what about the suffering in the hospital for those 2 months before she moved on in her journey?
No, I don't know anything about your mother. But if somebody has said she has merged with God, one more thing I tell you, we don't have any right to say that somebody has merged with God. How do I know whether somebody has merged? Only that person knows, isn't it? So it is only for a what you call formality sake we say, oh yes, this person has merged with the Guru, etc. Another person has no entry into spirituality. I alone know, because it's an absolute subjective matter. Whether I am realized or not, only I know. Others cannot know, will not know. So all these words, you don't have to take it seriously. That's the point.
Okay.
Swamiji,
Swamiji.
can I ask a question, please?
Yes. Yes.
You know, in the textbook, right, in the beginning, the introduction, it says that this chapter is read before the Brahmins ate their food. Now,
Yes.
it is such a elevated subject. Okay, it's as you're explaining to us, it's bondage and liberation. Why was such an elevated subject read before such a very necessary or regular practice? You know what I'm saying? It's something everybody does, feeds. And yet we're talking about something so elevated.
Yes, yes. See, Amma, there are so many reasons. Number one, this chapter is a very important chapter and it contains the essence of Bhagavad Gita.
Exactly.
And most beautifully in just 20 verses. In front of food, you have no patience to chant 72 verses.
But that can't be the reason, Swamiji.
See, so the essence of Bhagavad Gita is chanted in 5 minutes. What a great thing. So,
okay.
So the Rishi
It's a
Munis,
shortcut.
yes. So our Rishi Munis, the saints and sages say, at least remember God through chanting this before indulging in anything in the world.
Okay.
That's one reason. Second reason is, in this chapter, Bhagavan says, Aham Vaishwanaro Bhutva Praninam Dehamasitaha. I am that God who is digesting your food, sitting in your stomach. So God introduces himself as that Vaishwanara, that Jataragni, that digestive fire. So this chapter is chanted to remind us that the one who is digesting this food is none other than the Lord. Remember this.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Swamiji, I have a question.
Yes.
So, Swamiji, you said how to develop vairagya, like dispassion. So you said that we have to remember the bad feeling after fulfilling a desire.
Yes.
So, but what if we are so quick, we are going on trying to fulfill after one desire, the second desire, the third desire, and it gets fulfilled and is leaving a very joyful experience, or is not leaving a bad experience. So till then, we are accumulating our vasanas, right?
Correct.
So we have to wait, we have to go, means we have to have a bad experience, which we should not remember that joyfulness, we have to experience the bad.
See, the fact is there is a bad experience, but you are not paying attention to it. For example, you eat a junk food, you are feeling heavy, isn't it? Then what do? You don't meditate upon that pain. You immediately switch on the TV and then you see a serial. Now, what are you doing? You are distracting your mind from that experience of pain towards joy. Now the mind will not learn any lesson,
Yeah.
because you have not trained the mind to meditate upon the pain after the indulgence.
Don't distract your mind when you are hurting.
Yes,
Any
pay
mental,
attention to the
emotional,
truth.
physical.
Pay attention to the truth. The truth is, after indulgence, there is pain.
Okay.
Don't distract the mind by switching on the mobile and TV and this and that and distract. No, then you will not learn any lesson. Then the lesson learned by the mind is there is joy in every indulgence. There is pain. Let the mind go through the pain.
Wait, let it come. Don't push it behind. There must be
Yes,
something,
yes, exactly.
some other
Exactly.
craving. When will I get it again? This
Yes, yes, yes,
Be
yes.
alert. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
yes.
Swami. That was good advice.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.